Guys, regular Crucible and Trials of Osiris is an absolute battlefield. You know that whatever type of Crucible build you want to bring, it must be legit. Otherwise, it's going to get eaten alive. Which is why I'm excited to share with you this top tier Strand Hunter build. For any build, I always share with you the upsides and the downsides. Some of the cons to this build that is that it's going to rely a lot on your timing, your positioning, your technical skill to land your shots and activate certain abilities to get the most out of it. The pros is that this is a type of build that has so much speed that nobody else can contest you when it comes to map control. You have really good ability spam. You're almost never out of any type of ability to use for your next move. And lastly, it's one of the least used hunter subclasses, so a lot of people don't have too much experience against it and they will get surprised. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at my stats. Right away, you're going to notice that I spec'd it a bit different compared to my usual Crucible builds, and I'll explain why as we go, because there's a lot going down here when it comes to these numbers. So starting with health, I'm rocking 170 stats here. Now on the screen, I'm going to show you the difference between 100 health and 170 health when I'm getting hit by a grenade called Incendiary, and it applies Scorch. Especially with the fragment, you're going to be seeing like 90 Scorch stacks. So why this test is important here and why I needed to show it to you is because I showed you the big difference in how fast your health regenerates. Normally I run 150 health, but this build is focused on hyper aggressive gameplay, taking a lot of damage from the enemy and also taking the aggro from their abilities. And right now we're currently in the meta where players are starting to realize that Scorch abilities are actually very powerful because most Guardians don't run high enough health to regenerate their health. So they're like weak or one shot a lot of the time during the rounds. I did run this setup with 150 health, so that is still the sweet spot. But if you have the armor and you can squeeze out even more stats to some of these abilities I'm recommending, that's huge. The next stat we're looking at is actually melee energy. So unlike my other hunter builds, this one is rocking 60 stats instead of 70. And the big reason here is because you only need this amount of number to actually refund yourself a threaded spike. So here on the screen, you can see that when I throw the threaded spike and it returns to me even without hitting a target, it's going to refund a little bit of melee energy. It refunds more if it hits a target, and it refunds even more if I capture the dart. The best thing here is that whether you capture the dart or not and you do the gambler's dodge, you can get your dart pretty much immediately on the spot. That means that now we have 10 extra stats to invest elsewhere. Moving along, we have the grenade stat, and I have 98 stat points here. The main goal here was to get a minimum of 90, and whatever was left over from the other stats, I just dumped everything into the grenades because the grapple here is definitely one of the key abilities we want to have constantly for pushes, for disengaging and engaging players. The next stat is my super, and I have 90 stats here. I've run some variants of low intellect, high intellect, and in the end I came to the conclusion that running 90 points minimum for my super was very important. I decided not to run even more. I could, but I didn't, because when you see my mods, you're going to realize that we have some extra strategies here to actually get our supers that puts us on par to other people rocking throwing knives with heavy-handed. Like, I generally was beating other teams to getting super, or in some cases I was right there with them, even though they're getting like throwing knife super energy, right? Next up is the class, and I'm running 94 points here. The minimum that I wanted to hit was 90 stats so that I can get my dodges as quickly as possible. And this is important because it's going to synergize a lot when it comes to our armor, our aspects, and our gambler's dodge. The last stat here is going to be weapons, and I only have 15 here. I'm ignoring this. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the subclass breakdown. So I'm going to show you my abilities, and afterwards I'm going to share a secret strategy so you can also do this inside of your trials matches. Yeah, those one taps are crazy good. All right, let's take a look at my aspects. First up is Threaded Spectre. So you dodge and you leave a clone. If someone runs into the clone, it's going to explode and release threadlings. But the clone does a lot more that it doesn't tell you. And I'm going to share some extra tips on how you can best utilize this ability. The clone can ping radars. It can ping the radar, it can distract players. You put it around the corner and you can sit behind it, and someone is going to think that you are that clone in the corner and they are going to be hit by a surprise. The clone does a pretty good amount of damage, and there's ways to self-detonate this clone via throwing your threaded spike directly at it. But it doesn't stop there, because there's some tech here that you can start adding to your gameplay to get the most out of your clone threaded spike combination. Here in the private match, you can see how I cannot see the enemy player. But utilizing the clone, I can make it like a bit of a point where the threaded spike is going to hit the clone, bounce off of it, and actually hit the enemy player. This is super important because you can get some free damage, some free cleanups, or just a way to like engage without really showing the enemy player that you're there and just receive damage. And there's another thing that even I'm practicing still when using my clones, and that's using it as an actual meat shield. The threaded specter has its own like body that can take damage, and it explodes, of course. But here on the screen, you're going to see that if I stand near the clone, I can still peek the enemy guardian and shoot them back, but the clone will actually eat abilities. And one of the craziest abilities that it can eat is throwing knives. So this in a way feels like a perfect way to deal and almost counter people trying to spam throwing knives at me when it comes to Trials of Osiris. The next aspect here is Widow's Silk, and with grapple we end up getting 2 charges, right? This means that you have more opportunities to hyper aggressively push somebody, or just push for map control and be the first one to have certain lanes. As you can see from the gameplay, the grapple is an incredible way to play fast, get to angles first, just clean up players, get a grapple punch in that gets the subclass going, but also is a means of getting a very easy super pop against the enemy team. You would grapple punch, pop your super at the same time, and you go flying with Silk Strike. This type of opener serves as a kind of a surprise attack that people kind of have a hard time reacting to. And this is really important because Silk Strike is not the most damage resistant super. So utilizing this type of surprise attack where the enemy team has less time to react to you works as a really good way to actually secure kills and just wipe the team. They panic. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at the star of the show here, Threaded Spike, the Strand Melee. As I mentioned earlier, we run 60 stats. This Threaded Spike, whether it hits nobody or one player, whether you capture it or not, we're going to be able to get this back constantly thanks to the Gambler's Dodge. That gives us our melee energy back, and the Threaded Spike can do several things. It can sever the enemy, which means they do less damage. This is a really good way to just annoy the enemy team, just do some spread damage against everybody. The Threaded Spike can actually hit their teammates and use their body as a way to kind of just pinball across their team, and most of the time it will actually clean up that target that's trying to hide from you guys. While Threaded Spike doesn't have the most insane damage, it does something else really well. It can give you the final blow on a target immediately, especially if you have a weapon that can't shoot for a while due to its RPM. Examples of this would be like landing 2 120 hand cannon shots and then immediately throwing your Threaded Spike, almost making your hand cannon feel like it has a faster RPM. But my absolute favorite, and what takes this all the way to a whole new level, it's the way that it combines with other perks in the game. So Threaded Spike, it tracks. It's very fast, very difficult to dodge. It works with your clone, and like I mentioned, it works with your perks. And we're gonna combo this with a perk called Trench Barrel. So earlier I teased to you the tech that I was going to share with you on how you can replicate just one tapping the guardians like I showed you. Basically, Trench Barrel, if I hit someone with that melee, I get this damage buff. But the best part is, dude, the handling on it is insane. The hand cannon draws so fast, you could just hit fire or aim down sights, whichever you prefer, land a body shot, you don't need headshots, and it just one taps them. The amount of insta kills that I get with this and multi kills, it's amazing. It's very strong and so good. I have so much fun using it. So the next ability here is Strafe Jump, and later I'm going to share with you how you can make your hunter builds feel like they have Stompees on it for free. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever use those exotics ever again after I found out this information. So the fragments, starting from the left, we have Thread of Finality. This one just gives us plus 10 class. That's what we want. We have Thread of Ascent. I've considered not using this fragment just to make the stat even better across my build, but this fragment is just way too good to pass up on. When you activate your grenade ability, it reloads your weapons, it gives you bonus handling and bonus AE. All these benefits are very, very impactful. You can notice them, and it's too good to pass up on, especially when I'm playing hyper aggressive. The next fragment is Thread of Evolution. Not only does it give us plus 10 super, it's also increasing the threading damage from that Shrine clone. The last fragment is Thread of Binding. We use this just mainly for the health, but it also makes our super much better. If you defeat a guardian and anybody nearby, they're just going to get suspended. Look, I've tested several different exotics. I've considered many different options, especially my all-time favorite, the Setarani Facade. I don't find its value to be worth it compared to the value that the 6 Coyote brings to the table. After you use it, you're going to realize this exotic is absolutely insane for Strand Hunter. The exotic chest piece is simple. It just gives you an additional dodge charge, and you get a 3-point mod called Reaper for free. Having 2 dodges means that we have 2 clones. We can activate the mods on our armor 2 times. We can dodge and get our threaded spike more often. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that this exotic is a crazy motor for ability spam on the entire build, and you have all the cooldowns that you need constantly round to round. Before we take a look at the rest of the armor and the mods, let's go ahead and show you the shotgun hand cannon that you see a lot in the gameplay. When it comes to the primary, that's your personal preference. You can use something like Igneous Hammer, you can use Graviton Spike, whatever best fits your playstyle. But the shotgun hand cannon, what it does special is obviously the perk Trench Barrel. Now, normally most hunters that are playing the solar knives are doing this combination. They'll shotgun you and then throw a knife immediately for the cleanup kill. We're doing the opposite with the Strand build. You throw the spike, and now you have the damage amp on the shotgun hand cannon to immediately get a 1-tap. All right, so what are the armor archetypes I'm using to try to achieve these type of stats? So on my helmet, I'm using Brawler. On my gauntlets, I have Grenader. I have Bulwark on my chest, Bulwark on my legs, and Bulwark on my Hunter Cloak. With that out of the way, it's time to talk about the mod configuration for this Strand Hunter build. So starting with the helmet, I'm rocking 2 Dynamo mods. Dynamo says that you reduce your super cooldown when you dodge near targets. This works against 1 guardian, 2 guardians, 3 guardians, and it has a pretty nice generous range, and it works through walls as well. To be honest, 2 Dynamo mods and dodging near targets gives me more super energy than me trying to go land multiple primary shots on a target. It's pretty noticeable. I tested it against 1, 2, or 3 guardians separated together, and honestly, you still get a good chunk of super back, and it matters in the long term of a trials game. Here, take a second to look at how I was getting close to getting my super, but I didn't want to risk getting picked off by challenging, so instead, I just dodged near targets to fulfill my super charge. Anyways, let's keep going. On my gauntlet, I'm rocking the Focused Strike mod. So this one gives me class ability energy whenever I tag someone with a threaded spike. We already established that me having multiple dodges refunds my threaded spike multiple times, and me refunding more cooldowns for the dodge with the melee just works really well. It synergizes. For the other mods, I like to run dexterity, and since I want to prioritize drawing the shotgun hand cannon out very fast, I run 2 kinetic dexterities. For the chest piece, nothing special here, only unflinching mods depending on your primary of choice. Next up is the boots, and earlier we talked about how we can make your hunter builds feel like they have Stompees for free. So I've been running multiple athletic mods on my hunter, and I've noticed it feels really good. I feel fast, my jumps are really nice, and I wanted to see what that looked like in comparison to Stompees, right? Just kind of come to a conclusion. What's it like when you compare them? And here on the screen, we actually have my homie Zez doing hunter jumps, base double jumps with 2 athletic mods, and then taking those off and putting on Stompees and doing the same thing, the base jump, and then also doing the double jump. Basically, just from casual testing, it looks like 2 athletic mods actually gives you a better base jump than Stompees does. You go much higher, and honestly, that's a really good benefit. I'm gonna keep those on. The last mod here is Innervation. So you get an Orb of Power, you reduce the cooldowns of your grenades. Since we have Reaper for free on our exotic chest piece, this is nice for whenever we do get a crazy kill with the dodge perk, then we just get more grenades. The last thing here is the class mark. We have 2 bombers. Whenever I do dodge, I'm gonna get that threaded spike, but I'm also reducing the cooldowns of the grapple. And the last mod here, since we have a free 3-point slot, we're actually using distribution. Whenever we dodge near a target, we're reducing the cooldowns of all abilities. That's your grenade, that's your melee, for whatever reason it might not be fully charged, and that's also your dodge cooldown. It's very impactful. I notice it a lot and it feels so good. The ability cooldown for this build is super healthy and consistent. I like it a lot. With the mods out of the way, let's take a look at the artifact. Let's give a quick shout out to some of the mods I recommend and some that you might want to consider for your build craftings. We have refreshed threads, which gives you ability energy. Elemental coalescence has a chance to make you a tangle. There's also threaded blast. You might want to consider this for your build crafting. Whenever you make a tangle and you shoot it with strand damage, it will do an insane blast that would actually defeat multiple characters. Another artifact mod that I personally love to use a lot is tangled web. So whenever I do make a tangle, if someone's nearby, they will get suspended. It usually results in a free kill. And with that out of the way, we are done. This is the perfected strand coyote. Oh dude, it feels good to be back on Strand. If you've been watching the channel for a while, if you've been a fan for some time watching the streams, when Livefall came out, this was literally the only subclass I ever used for a long time. We perfected it, but the metas being pain point kind of makes me not want to use it sometimes, and the Bungie doing targeted nerfs. Even to this day, it's a lot of fun, and it's even better now with this new meta of less special ammo. Don't forget, I've always said, this is my favorite subclass in the entire history of Destiny 2. Honestly, I like it a lot. So tell me what you think. Have you tried a similar Strand Hunter setup? What have you discovered with your build crafting that makes Strand even more enjoyable for yourself? Are you gonna give this a chance or not? If you do, let me know in the comments below how good it treated you, because this setup feels so strong even against the current meta of lightweight throwing knife solar hunters and all the scorch abilities. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.